Hello, beautiful people. My name is Funke Akindele Bello, and you're watching This Nigeria. Keep watching.
Talking about Sharia law. It's never the case that Muslims sufficiently have created an opportunity for them to understand the anxieties of Christians. And in my view, a lot of this is feeding the violence that persists in our country today. That is why Nigerians keep thinking there must be something about religion, and there is something about the inevitability of conflict between Christians and Muslims. The reality is that it is not so. But if you ask, there are other systems of government. We have decided to adopt democracy. But we could have adopted anarchy as a system of government, and it's legitimately a system of government. There's a system of government that is called anarchy. If you adopt anarchism as a system of government, what it means is that it's not the chaos that you imagine. Anarchy as a system of government simply says we don't have a leader. All right? And it has been tried in the world. We can try plutocracy. Plutocracy simply says only those who are rich can participate in government. Or we can try aristocracy. More or less, basically the same thing, and feudalism, which is only after you do a blood test and it is said that your blood is blue, that is, you belong to royalty. Those are the only people that can contest and seek office. Or we can decide on a theocracy. Theocracy simply means that only those who are religiously, either Christian, Muslim, whatever, that governance is a government by religious people. Or we can try oligarchy or communism. The oligarchs are just a bunch of few people who govern on behalf of others. Or colonialism. The British came, it was a system of government. Or totalitarianism. But we've opted for democracy, and we repeat the tired words of Churchill, who said that democracy is the worst form of government except for others. But we have agreed in Nigeria that we need an aggregate of principles, and that given the nature of our country, democracy is what best approximates the opportunity for people to develop freely, exercise their freedom, live peacefully, manage diversity. Tragically, the basket of what we have called democracy is a combination of all the things I've listed. So, I then asked the question, why has national cohesion eluded us? Condoleezza Rice, in her book, she wrote a very beautiful book on democracy, in which she said, every democracy is flawed at its inception. And indeed, no democracy ever becomes perfect. The question is not one of perfection, but how an imperfect system can survive, move forward, and grow. So it is not that we are having conflict. It is that how do we get men and women to be able to deal with the issues of this conflict? And if you look at, and this is why I literally cried at the death of the clerk, he's not been given the credit that is his due. Because in the final analysis, this country will not be fixed until Muslims understand the grievances of Christians, until Christians understand the grievances of Muslims, until at an ethnic level, everybody understands the grievances of every ethnic group. Until we get to a point in which ordinary poor people understand that wealth is not something to be envious about, and rich people understand that poverty is not an inheritance, and that we can all talk among ourselves and find the best way forward. Because if you look at a racetrack, 5, 10, or 20 people are in a racetrack. All of them are not well positioned. They are positioned differently. But the hope is that all of them will have a fair chance, and nobody has an undue advantage. So the issue about our future is that national cohesion is largely a function of myth. People create mythologies, and these myths are a national flag, an anthem, music, culture, song, literature, who our heroes are, what monuments we have, what archives we have, and what kind of myth we create among ourselves. Today, if you ask about, we say, oh, the labels of our heroes past. Do Nigerians really have heroes? The answer is no. Because if you mention the name of Nnamdi Azikiwe, are you going to excite somebody in Jigawa? Are you exciting somebody in Kebbi or in Sokoto? If you go to Onitsha, to Uyo, to Owerri, or to Port Harcourt, and you mention the name of Sadona, will you generate any excitement for anybody? Or if you take the name of Awolowo and you go to Ijoland or whatever, and in Bayelsa, will people get excited? Are we at a point in which we can say, like Churchill is to the British people, or Abraham Lincoln is, or Charles de Gaulle, and so on and so forth? Unfortunately, a nation has to have institutions that inspire national aspirations and confidence. Take a simple example of the universities in Nigeria today. All the federal universities, they've all become tribal clubs. Because you cannot say that Professor Mohammed Jega, for example, shows up in the University of Calabar and wants to be interviewed for Vice Chancellor. Are you crazy? Or that Professor Thomas Mwachuku has appeared in Sokoto and wants to be Vice Chancellor of Osman Danfodio University. You must be mad. Suddenly, these federal universities that were meant to be more or less the platform for our cohesion have been reduced into tribal enclaves. And what is very interesting is that you go to all the federal universities in Nigeria, you just listen. It is easy for Yorubas to sit down here and tell the rest of Nigeria about what they want, or for the Igbos, or for the Fulanis, or the Hausas. But you go back home and you discover it's not everybody, even who is a Fulani man, that can be Vice Chancellor in this, that, or the other place. It's not every Yoruba man that can be Vice Chancellor in Ibadan. It's not every Yoruba man that can be Vice Chancellor in Ife. It's not every Igbo man that can be Vice Chancellor in Nsukka. Have you not been so? We all know. So we have systematically reduced ourselves to a level in which national cohesion remains at best an illusion. So finally, let me try and round up by simply saying there is something to be said about the essence of democracy and governance. That you need to create an environment in which citizens, ordinary citizens, that everybody will rise according to their God-given talent and destiny. You remember the story of Mohammed Bouazizi, the young man who committed self-immolation in Tunisia on the 17th of December 2010, and whose action sparked off the Arab Spring. What was his issue? And he speaks to the issue of dignity and how people perceive you. Now, the poor man, he came from a very poor background, and he was just doing his business of wheeling his goods and selling them on the street. On this particular day, the guy has taken a loan. He's got a wife, he's got a family. His father died, in a miserable death and left them with poverty. The father left them a small plot of land. That land had even been taken away by the state for a loan he took and couldn't pay. Now the poor man is pulling his truck. A policewoman stops him. And he has become famous, with the police. Because among other things, the narratives are saying that he was not good at bribing the police. They ask him, what is this? And before the poor man could say anything, the police officer, a woman, slaps him. Now, Donu Kobara, my friend, is sitting beside me. If she slaps me, she's a big woman. So I can say, well, I couldn't revenge because she... But to be slapped by a woman, how do you go and tell your wife that you were slapped by a woman? So Mohammed Bouazizi is standing there. He's slapped by this woman. He doesn't retaliate. Then they confiscate his card. And he goes to see the governor. He said, come and see. The governor refuses to see him. So he said, what am I left with? He decides to go and buy petrol, throws it on himself, puts himself on fire. What am I living for? So national cohesion is an ideal, but let us understand, because when you live in a society in which citizens cannot understand why they are poor, then you are in trouble. Because if people do not know, as it is in Nigeria today, if you ask a young man, I get all these young men coming to me day in and day out, young boys and young girls, they've graduated, they've got a 2-1, they've got good results. Where are they going to get? You ask, they say they are recruiting people in the army. Can I apply? I say, apply. They say they are recruiting people in road safety. They are recruiting people in... you heard the story here in FCDA. They say, Internal Revenue Service, 38,000 applications were received. 38,000. From what I saw on television, the members of the House of Representatives went to do oversight. And they had already decided to hire people without even opening the 38,000 applications. So when you live in this kind of country, I don't see how, because patriotism is not a commodity of exchange. People who are ministers today, I see them all the time because I've been around for more than 40, I'm going to be 45 years in prison this year. So I've been around for quite some time. But I see all these ministers who were abusing me 10 years ago or 15 years ago, they say you are causing trouble for our bishop, you are causing trouble for our country, you don't like our party. Then they are removed as minister. And then they start to say, Bishop, hey, this government, the thing you were saying, it really was true. I'm familiar with those cycles. But our nation must come together. And I think Dr. Fayemi made the point eloquently, I can't improve on it, that you cannot expect people to love your country if you don't love and respect them. So I want to thank Eric for this wonderful idea. Like he said, you shall know the truth. Dr. Fayemi added, and the truth shall set you free. But remember, the truth is not as simple as we want to make it look. When Jesus appeared before Pilate, and they talked about the truth, Pilate said, "Truth, what is that?" And Justice Oputa used to, I said to people, they say, I'm telling you, what I'm telling you is the truth. Or the newspaper is famous for writing the truth. No, there is no truth. It's always elusive. Because even the lawyers will tell you, if you want to know the truth, hear both, or the judge, hear both sides. And you can hear both sides and still not get the truth, because there is your side, there is my side, and there is the truth. Very often the truth is hidden in the crack somewhere.